Go ahead, next slide there, Keith. Yeah, click on there you go. Sorry about that. And we'll go over to the dispatcher, and the dispatcher is the central piece. So it's the module that holds everything together. It's the part where it's the module that's going to hold your escalation, your rules for escalation, your call-out list, if you will. And your reporting module, you have to excuse the diagrams a little misleading, but if we want to do reporting with a FactoryTalk alarm and events, we still can't do reporting just like we couldn't do in version 7 because it is an alarm and event server. It doesn't give you raw data. So if you want to do reporting with Enterprise, just the same as version 7, you'll need to connect via OPCDA to your RS-Links classic server. So once the dispatcher gets the alarms, it's going to determine who needs to be called out, and it's simply going to send it over to the notifiers. And the notification methods for Enterprise are going to be voice, and voice is done through an analog modem, the Taffy modem that we've supported for years and years and years. Enterprise introduces support for voice over IP systems, so now you don't necessarily need any hardware anymore. WIN-911 is going to act as a soft phone or a voice over IP soft phone or a SIP soft phone, call it what you like. What you need to do is configure so server details, and now you can connect to your phone system over your network and make calls. And you can also, voice over IP gives us the ability to have up to 8 active channels at a time. That means you can have 8 phone calls at the same time. So you can get through your big contact list if you're doing voice notifications much quicker than you could previously, where it was one phone call at a time. But of course, Taffy, using the Taffy modem, it's still limited to 1 call at a time. We're not supporting the dialogic card. That's a question that I get quite a bit. We may add support for that in the future, but right now it's not currently on our roadmap. And that's because we hear news from Dialogic every now and then that they're not sure how much longer they're going to support that card, and so it might not make a whole lot of sense for us to create that notifier. No, go back. So email is the next notifier. The email is going to allow us to do two-way email notification. Again, version 7 let us do a one-way notification, meaning we can send out an email and you can see it, and that's about it. We also didn't support SSL and TLS. We do support that now. We're going to also support POP and IMAP servers, and I'll talk more about email in just a little bit. SMS, that's again, we had that notifier before. Big improvement on that guy is that we now support a new type of modem. What we call them Ethernet-based modems, but they're cellular modems you can attach to the your network and access it over the network rather than physically attaching it to your machine. So if you have a lot of customers doing virtual environments, it makes it much easier to get that cell modem into that WIN-911 system than having to plug it into the server and pass it through. And of course we have mobile 911. It's just the same as before. And so if you're familiar with mobile 911, you'll be familiar with mobile 911 in Enterprise. And I'll talk more about mobile apps in just a little bit. So let's go to the next slide, Keith. So the actual FactoryTalk integration. So how do we do it in Enterprise? Like I said, it's fairly similar to what we were doing in version 7 with a few changes. We can still filter on severity, just the same as we did before. We filter on alarm name, and we filter on alarm class. So you can see the workspace on the right, or the configuration on the right. I'm filtering on a specific class, and you can see the filter I'm using is a wildcard filter, and I'm looking for any alarm that belongs to an alarm class called Station 1. If I get that alarm, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach what we call an alarm label. And an alarm label is a way that you can group your alarms together within WIN-911. So every alarm that comes in on this filter or subscription is going to wear that label. So then I could create another filter, and let's filter in a class called Station 2, and then I can attach that label Station 2 to those alarms. what labels are going to allow you to do is you can use those labels in your escalation. So you can say things like, if I get an alarm that is wearing the station 1 alarm label, notify this group of people, or do whatever you need to do. And I'll show you an example of that later in the live demo, and I've also got it on a slide coming up. And then you can also use those labels to limit the alarms that a particular operator can access. So if you have a big system and you have this one operator, he only needs to be able to see station 1 alarms. Well, you can tell him that, or you can configure that when you're defining his connection details to say, hey, this guy only needs access to station 1 alarms. So you're limiting which alarms a particular person has access to with those labels. Some advantages of the Direct Connect: dynamically receive new alarms. Basically what that means is you're not importing a list of alarms. You're creating these filters, and when you put in new alarms into your FactoryTalk system, alarm and event system, all you need to do is make sure that it belongs to the station 1 class in this example, and WIN-911 will automatically start receiving that alarm. So you don't have to go into WIN-911 and make any changes to anything. You just, when you add that new alarm, make sure it belongs to that class. And maybe if you want WIN-911 to not receive that alarm anymore, just take it out of that class, and now WIN-911's not going to get it anymore. And fitting along with that, all the alarms are maintained in FactoryTalk and the PLC. So what I mean by that, whether you're using a tag-based alarm and event server or the device-based alarms in a controller, all that's on that end. You're not configuring the details of these alarms in WIN-911 anymore. All you're doing is creating these filters or subscriptions to bring the alarms in. And of course, acknowledgments are seamless, which means if I acknowledge the alarm within WIN-911, it passes back to alarm and event server, and vice versa. So that's, I guess, one of the bigger things there. But let's go to the next slide, Keith. So if you haven't seen it before, this is what we call a tactic in enterprise. A tactic takes the place of a contact list within version 7. So a tactic is more or less a workflow, and it determines who's going to be notified. So in this little example on the left side, you've got the starting point where the green dot is. It's coming down to what we're calling, or what we call, a decision block. And it's checking the severity of the alarm. So it's saying, hey, is this alarm higher, is severity higher than 750? If it is, let's notify our operator group and our manager group. And if it's not, then let's wait 10 minutes for it to clear. And if it's still active, we'll go ahead and notify the operator group. So so the same way we can group alarms together with labels, we're doing the same exact thing with connections or people. And we call those roles. And so what you're seeing in this example where it says operators and managers, those are roles. So when I create a connection, I say this connection, he's an operator. Or I say he's a manager, or he's both. And so now when I create my escalation, I'm using these dynamic roles, and I'm not putting in a particular person's name. And so what that means is when you create a new person in your WIN-911 system, if you've set up your tactics like this, you don't need to go edit your escalation. They'll automatically be put in just by attaching that role to the connection. And this workspace is drag and drop, and I'll show you it in a live demo in a little bit, but let's move on to strategies here. So strategies are a list of rules on what WIN-911 should do during certain alarm conditions. So yeah, you've got a tactic there, but how do you know when to run that tactic? So the strategy is what determines that. So a strategy can have several different conditions for an alarm. So let's say in this example I've got an initial event. That means I got a new alarm. What should WIN-911 do? Well, it should start the tactic that I've got over here on the left. Let's say it's called assembly operators. So when I get this new alarm, it's going to launch that tactic, it's going to run through it, and it's going to determine who needs to be notified. The dispatcher, again, all this lives in the dispatcher. The dispatcher is going to take that information and send it to the notifiers. and then the notifiers are going to do their job. And then you can see other conditions in here. If the alarm state changes, we can re-notify, and it's only going to re-notify people that have already received the alarm. So it's smart enough to know that. And then I've got an upon timer that says after 20 minutes I can start another tactic. So that could be 20 minutes have passed. Nobody's done anything because it's still active. Let me just notify everyone in the system at this point. And then when the alarm becomes terminal, which means it's inactive and acknowledged, then I can stop notifying. So the way this is very different from version 7. In your groups, you can probably recall you can't edit any of this stuff. It was all hard-coded. So we would call out on a new alarm. We would re-notify if an alarm state changed. We could do a loop over, and that was kind of limited in itself. And then at the bottom where it says alarm becomes terminal, that was always hard-coded to acknowledge. So when an alarm got acknowledged, it would never send another notification. You can send a notification now even if the alarm is acknowledged and inactive. So that's all under your control now. So we decided let's not hard-code that. Let's make that available to everybody so they can do exactly what they want. So let's go over to the next slide here, and we'll go through some of the notifier examples. So first we'll start off with Mobile 911. Mobile 911 is our smartphone app. It runs on Android and iPhone or iOS devices, so iPhones and iPads. When you send an alarm to the Mobile 911 notifier, what it will do is it will send a push notification to your device. So once you get that, it will show up very much like a text message on your phone. So you can see that there in the example. So then all you need to do is tap on it, and it will open the app, and you'll see the details or a list of the alarm. So we'll just tap on the alarm, and you'll see the description. Now in Enterprise, the descriptions for all notifiers are completely customizable. In version 7, you did just have that checklist, but now we can make pretty much any format we want now. So let's go ahead and act this alarm. So we'll hit the act button, we'll type in our code, we'll wait for that to go through, it'll come back, and it will now, you can see that it was act by Steve through Mobile 911. And now anyone else in the system that received that alarm will also get this update saying Steve acknowledged the alarm. So that's it for mobile. So let's go to SMS. So SMS, like I said, we're using a new modem. We're doing the Ethernet IP. Again, think of the same exact, there's a picture of it right there. It's the same looking modem. It just has an Ethernet port on it, and when you plug it into your network, it gets a static IP address. Well, you have to configure that, and then you tell WIN-911 to connect to that modem over that IP address. And again, you're not physically connecting it to the machine. We do support those modems too, though, the serial modems, so you can still do that if you want, but these modems are also available. So you can see, just like the push notification, it'll show up on your summary screen there. We'll go ahead and open up the text. You'll see it has a ticket number at the top, just like before. It's a shorter ticket number than before. And if you have more than 199 alarms in your system, that number will grow automatically. So if we want to act this message, what we can do is we can type in the ticket number and the password that this particular person has, and that password is going to be 123. If you had a connection that didn't have a password, all you got to do is type in the ticket number, and then you can also see we've got a comment in there saying I'm 5 minutes away. So we're typing that in because everyone else is going to receive that comment when they get the acknowledgement update, and so they can see, hey, Steve responded and he'll fix it in 5 minutes or so. So that is SMS. So let's go over to voice calls. So like I said earlier, we're doing voice over IP. We have some new premium voices available now, which are mostly about international voices. So if you have a customer who needs a particular voice in another language, we can provide those now. So voice over IP over SIP, and we still support the same tapping modem as before. And just in case anyone had heard previously, Tappy wasn't supported in Windows 10 until I think December, around mid-December. They released an update. Fixing that. So if you have a Windows 10 customer, Tappy does work in Windows 10 now, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. So the interaction with voice in Enterprise is very similar to version 7, but it's just a little bit different. So when it calls you, you have that customized greeting that you can create. You can make it say anything you like. You can have customized greetings for individual people. So in this case, it's going to say, hello, this is WIN-911. Please put in your authorization code. So I'll have to put that in. So let's type that in, and we'll pound. And then it's going to tell us the alarm information. And then I can push star to repeat that message, or push 2 to acknowledge. So I'll acknowledge it. And if I have acknowledgement code turned on, I'll have to put in another code. So let's type that code in, and we'll hit pound. If you don't have the acknowledgement code turned on, you can just hit pound and it will act the alarm. So you're only putting the number in the one time. And then it's going to act the alarm and hang up on you. So that's it. I mean, it's fairly simple. You can also request reports within the voice notifier, as well as SMS and mobile 911. And you can also request alarms. So if you have alarms you need to request, you can do that as well. So last notifier is email. So let's go to that one. Like I said, email is two-way now. So when we send an email out, we can wait for your response to come in, and we can act an alarm on it. We can also do alarm request, report request. So the formats, we ship a few in an HTML format, so they'll look like this. We also do plain text if you just want a simple alarm display. It's also good if you're doing the email to your cell phone, like your phone number at vtext.com and so on. We also built in functionality that will allow, if you are doing that, where it's your phone number at vtext.com, you can reply to that, and you can still acknowledge the alarm. You had to do some special plumbing to get that to work, as a lot of the carriers change the formats of the email and so on. So we're supporting SMTP, like I said, to send the messages. We support POP3 for sending, receiving, and IMAP for receiving. We support TLS and SSL. I forgot to fix this typo in the slide, so forgive me. If you don't want to receive incoming mail, you can turn it off. You don't have to do it. So in this example on the right, you can see I got a new alarm. It says it's the door assembly welder is no longer functioning as active and unact. So let's go to the next one here. So now it transitioned to an inactive state, so I get that update. So I'll go to the next one, and I can type in my my password. So the way email works is when you hit the reply button to act an alarm, there is a subject line, and in that subject line it has a ticket number. So when we're hitting reply, if you don't have the password turned on, you can just hit reply and hit send, and it's going to act the alarm. In this case, we've got a password of 123, so we've got to type that in the body of the response, and we're going to put a comment in there as well that says I'm 5 minutes away, and then the acknowledgement goes through, and you can see it just the same, just like all the other notifiers. And of course, email supports alarm requests, report requests, just like the others. So what we'll do right now is we'll come back to this slide, but I'm going to go ahead and jump into a live demo so you can see how this stuff works real quick. So I'll have Keith make me the presenter here as I'm just sharing the screen here. Yeah. Apologize for the technical difficulties there. All right, cool. All right, so excuse me. Here we're running FactoryTalk 9 in server 2012. We've got a super simple demo setup. Just got 5 tags. They're using tag-based alarm and event server. And so when I set one off, obviously I get the alarm. So let's just jump into the configuration real quick. So this is it. This is how you get to the configuration of WIN-911 and Enterprise. It is browser-based. So in this instance, everything's local on this machine, but if you needed to access the configuration on a remote machine, you can certainly do that. You'll need to make sure that your firewall allows the traffic through your web server, which we're using IIS for this. So you need to allow IIS to have access through the firewall. And when you hit this, this configuration, it's protected with Windows authentication. So when you go to edit something, you have to type in a user account and password that has permissions to edit the configuration. So we've laid this out in kind of the order that we would like a user to configure the software. So we start off with contacts, and you can see our module, our notifier modules are here. I'm not going to go through every single one because that will take quite a while. Well, let's just look at let's look at SMS. So SMS, I've got this guy set up to use one of those Ethernet modems that I've been talking about. So if every notifier in Enterprise is built up of 3 different parts, there's a gateway, and a gateway for every notifier is going to be how does it connect to the outside world. For SMS, it's the connection details for a modem. For email, it's the server details. So you can see here that I've got a modem, an AT&T modem. It's at this IP address, 192.168.162. It's on this port. It's an HSPA modem. I could go into advanced settings if I needed to. If I wanted to add another modem, you can. So you can pull more than one modem together if you want to get through alarms quicker, or you just want to have a secondary modem in case one of them fails. So if one does fail, it'll just try the other one automatically. You don't have to do anything special for that. So again, this is on our network somewhere. I've got the IP details in there. And so the other part of any notifier module is going to be the connections. The connections are the actual people that you're going to be notifying. So I've got Tom Jones. Maybe some of you guys remember Tom Jones from the old demos, but I've got this cell phone configured in here, and you can see, let's go into edit mode here. You've got a name field, a description, but it's totally optional, country code, phone number, and every connection workspace is going to look very similar no matter which notifier it is. Obviously, it will be a little different depending on what it is, because what we need from you to send the notification will be different. We've got a schedule that we can choose. We've got several built-in schedules, and here's where we can attach a role. So I've made Tom Jones, he's a Station 1 operator, he's a Station 2 operator, and he's the security guard. So he's got every role on there. Then we have alarm format. So you can choose which format the alarm should be sent in. We've got a few built in. Again, those are customizable. Report format, and we've got ACK options, so you can say this person can ACK alarms, and in this case he has to type in the ticket number. If I wanted a password like you saw in our example earlier, I'd choose this option. And I also said that you can limit which alarms this person has access to, so you can see how my alarm request options, I'm saying he only has access to alarms wearing these labels. So when I do an alarm request, if an alarm doesn't have this label on it, I'm not going to get it. So this is how a connection is defined in Enterprise. Again, email, mobile 911, SMS, voice is all going to look very, very similar other than basically the general tab. And the formats will look a little different. So that is a notifier. Those roles I was talking about, those are easy to create. You just come in here, create a new one, and that's it. There's nothing special about those guys. So let's jump into the schedule workspace. The schedule workspace has been totally redone from version 7. If you want to create a custom schedule, just come in here, you add an appointment, so we'll say on schedule, and we'll say, I don't know, let's say 8 to 5, close. There's 5 there, 5. So 8 to 5, so I've created this one appointment. It's on a Monday, but I want that to persist Monday through Friday till the end of time, because that's how long these people have to work. Monday through Friday, and I'll set no end date for my recurrence, and I'll say OK, and now it's built into every single day. Let's say you have a holiday. I believe the 16th was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so let's say they didn't have to work that day. I can come and delete that. And now this schedule, they won't get notifications on this day if they were using this schedule. So that's how you create schedules in Enterprise. You can also create shift schedules by altering that recurrence information. So you can say on call this week, not the next week, but the next week, and so on. So notification is built into tactics and strategies, like I showed you guys before in the PowerPoint. So I've got a custom strategy built here. It's called My Strategy. So when I get a new alarm that's using this strategy, it'll start my tactic that I've got called My Advanced Tactic. If an alarm state changes, I'll re-notify it. I've got an upon repeating timer, so every 30 minutes, if this alarm is still active, I'm going to re-notify again. And if an alarm becomes terminal, then I'm going to stop notifying. If I wanted to stop notifying on an acknowledgement, I could do that as well, just like version 7 did. So that's how that works. You basically browse for these tactics here, and you choose which tactic you want to run. And remember, the tactic is it's more or less it's a call-out list. So this is a strategy, and here is a tactic. So here's that My Advanced Tactic that I was referencing in that other in that strategy. So what it's saying is it's coming down here. It's checking to see if an alarm is a Station 1 alarm. If it is, I'm going to notify my Station 1 operators. If it's not, I'll check for Station 2 alarms. I'll notify those guys. If it's not that, then I'll check for security alarms, and I'll notify those guys. So these decision blocks, we can check on different things too. Like here we're doing alarm label, but we can do severity. We can check the active state, acknowledged state, how much time it's been since an alarm has been active. So you've got quite a few options for decision blocks. For notification blocks, so I do have these role notification blocks, but if you wanted to notify a particular individual, you can do that as well by dragging this block in here, editing it, and you can choose an actual person. So if I wanted to send Keith an email, I could put him in there too. So you can do both. If you don't want to do the role notification, you can put in individual people. So that's how you create a tactic in Enterprise. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel on this guy. Now, a lot of our customers, because they're so used to version 7, they wanted the same kind of version 7 call-out list functionality, so we created what we call a basic tactic. A basic tactic is very similar to that group contact list, where you have a group of people, you can put them in some particular order and move them around, set some delays, and that's it. So you don't have to use the workflow if you don't want to. So this is available as well. So a strategy would just run this instead of that other tactic if you wanted to use this. So that is the strategies and tactics. So the strategy calls a tactic, and the strategy determines what WIN-911 is going to do for any particular alarm state. So let's get into the FactoryTalk details. So I've got one alarm and event server configured here. So to configure the alarm and event server, you need to know the application name. You need to have a username and a password that has access to the system. I've got this local alarm and event server set up, and it's on this WIN-911 demo application, so you can see that over in your admin view. So here's my app, here's my alarm and event server, here's my user. If this was a networked application, you can connect to a remote alarm and event servers as long as the computer you're running on has FactoryTalk services installed, and you need to install the FactoryTalk alarm and event software, which you can install without needing a license, and it's available on the disk you get from Rockwell. All right, so once you define all that stuff, you can do a test connection. It's going to go over to the alarm and event server, try out the details, see if you have access to the system. If you do, great. This good quality events checkbox, this will, if you check this, we're going to ignore alarm updates that say bad input value or something like, don't recall exactly what it said. It's a bad input alarm, so if you have, usually you get those in big floods and you don't want to send all those out. So if you don't want to do that, you can check that box. So here are my filters, or my subscriptions. I've got 3 of them set up, and they're all doing specific classes. So this one is saying, I want to filter alarms that are part of this alarm class called security. I'm going to attach this label onto it, and then I'm going to assign it to the strategy that I made. So when an alarm comes in on this filter, it goes to this strategy. The strategy is going to start that tactic, and that tactic is going to see that this is a security alarm, and it's going to notify my security operators or my security officer, whatever I call that role. It's going to notify those guys. So that's how the subscription works. Now, I've got 3 of them in here. So the next one, of course, as you can imagine, filtering station 2, attaching this label to it, and then sending it to the same strategy, which is going to start the same tactic. And then I've got a third one doing the same thing. And the other criteria in here is nothing new here. Severity range, I can type in a particular severity value. You could do the same kind of thing I'm doing with the class if you had a particular severity that you wanted to assign all your WIN-911 alarms to. So let's say that severity was 911. Anytime you wanted WIN-911 to get the alarm, you set it to that severity, and then WIN-911 would automatically get it. So you don't have to use classes for this. This is just the way I like to do it. I think it's the easiest way. One difference between version 7 and Enterprise is that I can put multiple filters on here, whereas before it was just one. So if I was doing classes, I could only filter one. Right, so that is how you create these subscriptions. So let me cancel out of that. We also support watchdogs. Watchdogs allow you to watch for a changing alarm. If we don't see a changing alarm, then we create an alarm saying, hey, we haven't seen an update. That's good for monitoring PLCs, or if you like, so you could say PLC number 5 is down. The difference between watchdogs and Enterprise in version 7 is that you don't need to specify the actual alarm you're looking for. We're watching a particular alarm class, so if you were doing this, you set those alarms to, in this case, we defaulted watchdog in there. So if you had this alarm that was coming in and out, put it in the watchdog class for your watchdog alarms, and if we see that changing value, then we know we're getting updates. If we don't see the changing value, then we will set this watchdog active after 90 seconds, and you can change that, of course. So that's how watchdogs work. So it's just a little different. Instead of putting in the actual alarm name, we're just looking at a class. It's easier to do it that way because you had a lot of people that didn't know the exact format to put for the alarm to put into WIN-911. So that makes it much easier, to tell you the truth. So that's how you create your connection to FactoryTalk alarm events. Now, if you wanted to monitor more than one application or server, you certainly can. You can add them in here on the left. And define them in the same way. So there's nothing, that's not new. I mean, that you could always do that in version 7, and you could still do that in Enterprise. Remember, labels, create those just the same way as roles. You just hit the plus button, and it will add it in there, and then you can use it. So that's about it I want to cover in the GUI for FactoryTalk. So what we'll do is let's set off an alarm, and we'll see how the system handles the alarms. So here's my client. Here is the new log viewer, much improved over the version 7 log viewer. It automatically updates, and you can see quite a few details in it. So let's put this alarm. This is my security alarm. So it's going to say the entrance gate is open, and we're going to get the alarm over in WIN-911. What we can do then is we can drill down into that alarm. We can see that all these people were just notified. So here, this person's wearing the security role. So is this person, which is me again, just SMS connection. So you can see not only when they're sent, but when they're successfully sent. So I was saying dispatching email, I can see that it was a success. I say I'm sending this one to my work email, I can see that was successful. Same with SMS. So we know when it was accepted. It's the same is true for voice and mobile 911. So now I've got this alarm on all these notifiers. So what I'll do is I got it on this one phone through SMS. So let me act the alarm through there. So type this in here. So I've got my alarm in here. I've got my ticket number. So all I need to do, I wish I had this on the screen for you guys, but all I'm doing is typing in the ticket number, and I'm going to send it in. And so now I've got this text message coming in from Tom Jones is the one I'm sending it in from. And you can see the alarm got acknowledged in alarm and events over here. And now what's going to happen is it's sending more notifications because it's saying anytime I get a status update, let's re-notify. Let's re-notify everyone that got the alarm saying that Tom Jones acted the alarm. So I can check out this acknowledgement tab, and now I can see that Tom Jones acted, the time that he acted, and that he did it through SMS. So these other tabs, they're good for when you're originally setting up the system to make sure everything's working right. So strategy execution is going to show you which one of those triggers have been hit so far. So I got a new alarm, and I started that tactic that I showed you guys. The alarm state changed because the act status changed, and so now I'm going to notify previous. So if I reset the alarm to normal, we'll get another update for terminal, and it will say stop strategy. So I'm going to get the update because it went from active to inactive, and then I'm going to go terminal, and I'm going to stop notifying. So now this instance of this strategy for this alarm is over. I'm not going to send any more notifications for it. I can also look at tactic execution. You can see how we work through a tactic to determine who needs to be notified. So you can see at this particular point when it got to that notify block for security, it found 4 people that needed to be notified, and that's why we've got those 4 people over here. We also log the state changes just in case that is useful for you guys. So we can go back to the main view. So let's, again, that was a security alarm. So I went to my security group. I've got this station 1 water tank. I'll set that active. I'll set this one active, which is station 2. And let's just turn them all on, I guess. And as they come in here, you'll see them pop into WIN-911. And if I scroll over to the right, you can see that the labels that they're wearing. And so here's my entrance gate. Here are the station 1 alarms. Here are the station 2 alarms. So now I just sent out a flood of alarms to everybody, and you can acknowledge those from any one of the notifiers. But you can also acknowledge them from WIN-911 if you wanted. So you can choose which ones you want to acknowledge and type a comment if you want and acknowledge them. And now I've act them all through WIN-911, so you can see they're all act, get the update, and then turn them all off. So that's the new enterprise system. So the log viewer, all the logs are coming out of a SQL database. So if you guys wanted to pull information out of there, you can. So we ditched the old MDB Access 95 log file for SQL. So so you can certainly parse information out of that log file if you need it. The configuration for WIN-911 is all SQL as well. So you can access that from on your own to view any kind of details you want. So with that, I guess what we're going to do is take some questions. So
we can pull up the.
I guess I'll have Keith go through the questions. Actually, let's go through these last slides here real quick. It's always more PowerPoint to go through.
Yeah, we won't PowerPoint you guys to death. But the current upgrade path from version 7 is obviously something that we have planned for this year. We do get a lot of questions about how does a customer move from a version 7 product level to enterprise. We are working on new license levels, so you'll see that coming in the next couple months, where enterprise will be broken up just like version 7 into different levels. The migration utility is planned for this year. Steve, do you have any
So the
idea?
migration utility is going to bring in everything that is relevant. So as you can tell, the configuration is quite a bit different. And so there are some things in version 7 that's not going to make any sense to bring over to enterprise. So we'll do our best to do a one-to-one conversion. So for example, a group, like if we need to bring a group over, that group's going to consist of creating a strategy with the name of the group and then creating a tactic. The basic tactic, if you remember, the basic tactic was that simple call-out list. It's very similar to the version 7 contact list. And we'll take everyone that you have in your group and we'll put it in that tactic, and we'll create the strategy that runs that tactic. And we'll also bring in all your contacts. So if you have email contacts, then we'll bring them in. Obviously, we don't have all the same notifiers that version 7 has, like the pager. We don't have a pager notifier, so we're not going to be able to bring stuff like that over. And if you're using RSView32, well, we don't have a connection for that. We also don't have a connection for FactoryTalk HMI alarms. I'm pretty good at authority that Rockwell wants all you guys to be using alarm and events anyway, so I'll fall back on that. But yeah, the migration utility, we're hoping to get that out by sometime mid this year, and we'll try and capture as much information that's in your version 7 configuration and bring it to enterprise. If you were doing, the reason I say it's not one-to-one is because we'd like you to use, well, really it doesn't matter. It's the tag stuff is different. The notifiers in enterprise aren't configured the same. Data sources aren't configured the same. So it's not, like I said, it's not going to be a one-to-one conversion. But anyway, sorry.
So from a commercial standpoint, as you guys know, if the customer's on support, they could upgrade to enterprise and take advantage of all the features that Steve covered. The price difference between Pro and Enterprise is how we calculate the upgrade fee. So it's $1,300. Obviously, you get your standard SI and distributor discounts on that. And the customer just has to have a valid support contract for their version 7 software. And improvements over V7, I'll let Steve cover these.
Yeah, so like I showed in the demo, the enhanced filtering method, you saw how I can add multiple filter criteria together. In version 7, I couldn't do that. The configuration is runtime all the time, so anytime I made a change and I hit the save button, it immediately took place. So you don't have to save the configurator and restart the runtime anymore. It's always running. So advanced alarm escalation, you saw the tactics, you saw the strategy. So those two things give you way more flexibility than version 7 ever did. We also, for the version 7 users, it's just one simple call-out system. That's why we created that basic tactic. So if that's what you need, then that's what you can use. The configuration, browser-based, you can get to that anywhere within your network. You could even open it up on the internet if you wanted. I don't know that a lot of people would do that. And remember, that is protected with Windows authentication. So you do need a valid user account and password to get into it. And we've got new notification methods. So the email changed, SMS changed, voice changed. The mobile 911 is the same, but I've got an update for that as well. So let's go to the next slide. Coming soon, WIN-911 Mobile. So we've totally redone our mobile 911 app, and we're calling it WIN-911 Mobile. This is only going to be available for WIN-911 Enterprise. It's going to support Android, and iOS, and Windows devices. So it's a total reworking of the app, and we'll have more details about that coming soon, as it says. So probably we'll throw together a webinar similar to this once it's ready to go to announce it to you guys. I can tell you right now, I like it way more than the old one. A lot of new features are going to be in there that weren't in mobile 911 or any of the other notifiers. So we'll show again. We'll show that to you when it's ready. New license tiers for enterprise. Keith talked to that just a moment ago. So right now we just have the top tier enterprise. We're going to break that down in different license levels. So if you obviously if you have a smaller system, you don't need the full-blown thing, then that's what that will be for. Multi-language support for FactoryTalk. So in our alarm and event connection, we're only pulling alarm messages out of the English message box, what I call bucket. So we're working on adding in support so you can choose which language to pull the language bucket to pull the alarm messages from. So if you have a Spanish application, you can choose Spanish within WIN-911, so you're pulling the alarm messages from the right place. So right now, if you've ever done that before, if you have nothing configured in your English messages, it says it's not formatted for this or something similar to that. The subscription workspace, we're going to redo that so that you can reuse the subscriptions that you define. So say I do have 5 alarm and event servers, and they're all using the same subscription, and now instead of having to define the same subscription over and over and over again, I can just reuse the subscription or filter, call it what you like. A new status module. Status module is going to be you can think of it like a health module. It's going to monitor the state of WIN-911 for every module, so you know if your email notifier is sending messages correctly, or your mobile 911 SMS, and then you can use that information for failover. So that is what the new status module will be about. Okay, so let's get to the questions now. So.
All right, yeah, so anybody that has a question, feel free to submit it through the question chat box in the GoToWebinar menu. We'll go ahead and open those up. Looks like Hing Wong had a question about, does WIN-911 Pro support FactoryTalk alarm and events? It does say he left the room, so we'll follow up him. We'll follow up with him.
Yes, it does, yeah. So version 7 is always supported alarm events for a long, long time. And we'll continue to support WIN-911 Pro or version 7 well into the future if anyone had a question about that. And anyway, so you can use version 7 with alarm events if you did want to.
Looks like Jason Terry, where can we acquire these modems from you guys or elsewhere? So the modems that we carry are manufactured by Multitech. We do have those available on the SMS side. So we have the Ethernet IP modem that Steven spoke to, where you can move it around outside of the machine that you might have WIN-911 on and connect it via Ethernet. We also have the voice modems. We still carry the Tappy voice modem and also the Dialogic card, so hopefully that speaks to everything.
Yeah, and as far as the cell modems go, get the Multitech modems. That's what we designed it with. That's what we tested with. Those are the ones we're 100% confident are working very well with our application. Some other modems do work, but I mean, I don't see the point in taking the risk. Just get the Multitech modems work all over the world. So there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to get a hold of one.
We have a question from Matt Likes. Does WIN-911 Enterprise run on server 20?
Yeah, it does. 2008 R2. It will run on 2008 R2, and that's the bottom end. So Windows 7, Service Pack 1, and Server 2008 R2 are the bottom end of our OS supported list, and we support up to Windows 10. We haven't certified Server 2016 yet. I really don't see a reason why it wouldn't work. We haven't sent it through a QA cycle just to know for sure. But yeah, so it's 2008 R2, Windows 7, Windows 8.1, and Server 2012 R2, or Server 2012, and Windows 10.
What are the license requirements for WIN-911 when connecting to redundant FactoryTalk alarm and event servers?
So I don't. If you mean licensing requirements on a Rockwell's end, I can tell you that if you're running WIN-911 on a machine, you don't need to buy anything extra from Rockwell to make that happen. You just need to put FactoryTalk services and install that FactoryTalk alarm and event, I don't know, a software module, and then you can connect to an alarm and event server. So I don't even believe Rockwell restricts how many people can connect to an alarm and event server, as far as I know. On our end, we still have the same alarm and event add-on. So if you buy Enterprise, you got to get that alarm and event add-on to make it possible. So that answers your question there.
Similar question, how's redundancy achieved in WIN-911? Example, the WIN-911 server failing, which also covers the next question.
So about that, so right, I talked about the status module, and the status module, that's what it will be doing, is it's going to be monitoring the system so that we can then will release what we're calling a failover module, for lack of a better name, that you'll be able to set some rules saying if this module failed, or this module failed, fail over to another WIN-911 system. Again, that's coming this year. Right now, what could you do? I have a script, a VBA script that you can run that at every minute or its configurable time. It will check the WIN-911 system. It will check any modules you have configured to see if they're responding, and if they're not responding, you can make it fail over to a second WIN-911 system. So, so that answers Nick's and Jason's question. And if you want that script from me, just email me and I'll send it over to you. Eventually I'll get it up on the knowledge base once it's time to write it up. But if you need it, I can send it to you guys. So next one is the price of Enterprise similar to version 7, I believe. I mean, it's a tier higher than the Pro, so I believe it's $39.95 for Enterprise.
Yeah, to go over that, it's just real quick, the Enterprise product, like we had on the new feature list, we're going to break it up into different levels. So you'll have a level that comes in around the same price as the Pro version 7 with almost the identical features. So we'll be sending that out in the next few months. So keep a lookout for that in your email. It'll have the new licensing structure for Enterprise also with pricing.
Yeah, and so the next question, Ron, I'm probably going to have to call you to discuss the details about this, Ron, but can we do, the question is, if we have standby teams that rotate, can we have the tactic accept password codes based on which team is active? That totally depends on who's got the device that it was sent to and so on and so on. The tactic's not the piece that accepts the ACK codes, it's the actual notifier itself. But if a device never received an alarm, you're not going to be able to ACK an alarm if it didn't receive an alarm. Anyway, Rob, I'll contact you afterwards, and I'll talk to you about the details of that so we can figure that out and see exactly what you're wanting to accomplish. And as far as pager support, no, we don't support pagers anymore. It's crazy, you know.
But to speak to the pager support, the Enterprise product level doesn't support paging, alphanumeric or numeric, but the version 7 product is going to continue to be maintained. So if you do have a customer who's looking for somebody or for support for pagers, version 7 will still be available. We're still maintaining it to support new operating systems. It does support Windows 10 after this latest testing, so that would be the alternative instead of using Enterprise for local paging.
Next question about which methods are being utilized to secure the WIN-911 connection to the outside for cybersecurity. So again, we're running at the GUI itself is running in IIS, so in Microsoft's web server. By default, we're turning on Windows authentication so that you can't get into the system without proper credentials. Beyond that, opening it up to the internet, it's entirely up to your IT team to determine what they're going to do as far as securing that web server. So IIS is very flexible, so almost any security scheme that you want to stick on top of it is going to be fine. I mentioned that the modules, each runtime is its own module. Those modules communicate to each other using something called WCF through HTTP endpoints, and those are also using Windows authentication. So nothing can talk to those modules unless it has the proper user credentials to do so. If you have more questions about that, Nick, we can talk offline. Is the status module available now or question mark? It will be available later this year. It's not available now. It's another, when it's available, we'll announce it to you guys, so so don't worry about that. Is Enterprise available today? Yeah, it's been available since 2014, January 2014. We're on late. We just released a new version a week or 2 weeks ago, a week ago. Days kind of bleed together now, so but yeah, you can get that today. If you want it today, you can order it. You can also demo it. If you want to do what we just did, go to our website, go to the download page, and you can download it. It will run for 30 days. After 30 days, the demo expires. If you need an extension, we can certainly give you an extension. So don't worry about that. And if you do purchase the software, the license terms are the same as version 7. So once you buy it, you have it forever. So nothing different there. So here's the download page. So if you guys go to WIN-911.com, you can go here, download the Enterprise Edition. It includes an SQL Express install. So you can, it'll install, and it'll also offer to install that for you, so you don't need to know anything about SQL to get it to work. So everything's available right there.
And if you guys have questions about system requirements, there's a PDF that you can take a look at to see what credentials and resources are needed on the machine that you plan to put Enterprise on. There also is a new price list posted, so those of you who haven't looked at that, it's available. The last cut of it was in September, but there will be another cut coming probably in February or March to detail the different license levels for Enterprise. But let me check real fast and see if we have any other questions.
No, that's the last one, so yeah. It's perfect. We're 4 minutes over, but that's all right. So
well, thanks for everyone's attendance today. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them to sales@win911.com, or you can email me direct at keith@win911.com. So hopefully everyone has a good day, and thank you again for supporting us.
Thanks, guys.